Hey everyone, and welcome to Almost Cancelled. I am Peter, and I'm going to be talking about The Haunting of Hill House Season 1, Episode 2. It's called Open Casket. So, full spoilers for the episode, as always. So, this was the episode focused on Shirley. It makes sense that we're probably going to get one focus on each of the five kids. Even the one that's dead, I feel like we're still going to get one for Nellie as well. It makes a lot of sense to me. I wanted to actually just start with a bit of an amendment to something I said last time. Well, not an amendment, it's an additional detail. I spoke last time about how Lulu Wilson, the young Shirley, was in Ouija Origin of Evil. Funnily enough, the actress Elizabeth Reeser, who plays older Shirley, I thought it looked familiar as well. Turns out she was the mother in Ouija Origin of Evil of Lily Wilson's character. So now they're both playing young and old versions of the same character, but they were playing mother and daughter in Flanagan's last movie, or one of his last movies. And then Theo, Kate Siegel, who plays her, she was actually in a bunch of his films. She was the lead in Hush, but she was in Gerald's Game. She was apparently in Ouija Origin of Evil as well. So yeah, I wasn't recognizing her as much, but certainly I noticed the face of Reeser, who plays Shirley. But yeah, I just thought that was interesting. So he's brought a lot of actors back with him from previous works. There may be more as well that I've not noticed yet. But I was looking through the cast list after last episode, and they kind of stuck out to me. Anyway, Shirley episode, and we kind of go into why she is a funeral director, why she restores bodies, how she came to be that, and if I have a complaint about the episode, is that it is maybe just a little bit too almost Hollywood how specific and on the nose like her backstory is as to how she, like that she was scared to see her mother after she died at the funeral, and it kind of mirrors this young boy's story. We saw the young boy last episode where he's scared to see his grandmother, and he claims that he's been seeing his grandmother sitting on his bed, ghostly, as it were, since she died. But and Shirley, of course, is very skeptical. She doesn't believe in ghosts. She says that to her kids as well at one point. And we set up a bunch of different things. We get a bit more of her relationship with her mother, but also a relationship with Nellie, who's relevant because she finds out in this episode that she's dead. And that's a big driving force for this episode, is that once she finds out she's dead, Stephen calls her in the middle of the night and tells her about this. She's obviously in shock. She doesn't want to believe it, and she's like, no, like this can't, Dad's being very vague about how mother died. She can't be vague about how she died as well. This is not right. But she's insistent on doing the body herself. Whereas, typically if you're a family member of someone, like, they would send it to a different person to take care of it. It's the same reason why you don't, like, it's just the sort of thing you would get your own family member to do. You wouldn't know the people you're restoring. You would send them to someone else. And her husband, Theo as well, are both telling her, "Hey, send it to someone else. This is weird. Why are you doing it? Why are you insisting?" And you can tell that she's close to it. She wants to. I'll do it perfectly. I'll do it the way it's supposed to be done because it's my sister. She feels very close to it. But there's some neat things set up. There was a story in the flashbacks of her first experience with death. So obviously we get the stuff with her being scared to see her mother in the casket, in the open casket. But we get the first experience of death with this box of kittens, which, as a cat person, this entire plotline was making me feel very uneasy. My cat Wesker was lying on top of me when I was watching some of these scenes, particularly when we got to the dead kitten later on, and I might have started to hold him a little bit, a little bit closer, a little bit tighter. Just like, it's okay, cat, it's okay, you're okay. You're okay. Nothing bad's happened to you. It's a made up believe, cat. You know what? Kill as many humans as you want in a movie or a TV show, but as soon as you start threatening the cats, I'm upset. But yeah, so she finds this box of kittens. There's a really good scene actually where she takes a photograph. She's running around with a camera, young Shirley, and she's taking photos of her sisters. And we get there's just a lot of little details here that kind of help. Just add up to why the death hits her so much. I mean, sure, on face value, our sisters just died. We should just accept that, sure. But, it shows that she was kind of close with Nellie. Closer to Nellie than she was with Theo. Even though her and Theo are kind of living together now. But it kind of gets this relationship just a little bit because her little sister wants to play, to have a tea party, little girl things, and she's like, "No, I'm too old for that. Let's go outside and play instead." And they set up this thing where the mum has a rule where when the porch lights are flashed twice, it's time to come home. And as soon as she said that, as soon as she made that clear, it's like, you know the rules. What's the rules, daughters? And they're like, "Oh, porch lights mean come home." Um, I immediately said, okay, that's setting something up. That's a Chekhov's gun waiting to happen. We're going to get these porch lights in some capacity at some point. In fact, and it ends up being the final moment of the episode is the little model house in Shirley's office as she walks out after finishing everything. The little porch lights flash saying it's time to come home. And obviously we're going back to the house at some point. We have to be, but. So I thought that was a neat little touch. The scary scenes in this one, when young Shirley finds the kittens and she takes the photo, the flash reveals something behind it, and I didn't know what it was. It was kind of like there was a vague shape of a face. I actually thought it was like the mother cat had like turned to stone or something, but like with lots of stone around it, kind of thing. Like it was smaller than stone or concrete. I don't know what I was thinking. It turned out it was a old wasp's nest that it obviously went all crusty and mouldy and whatnot. But I thought that was an effective scene. I think where the scares flounder a little bit is perhaps the banging was good when the daughters or the young kids are scared in bed. It was Theo and Shirley. Theo comes in thinking because again we've set up that Shirley speaks in her sleep, and she seems to every time she wakes up from like a nightmare. Or from like a flashback nightmare, she seems to like be saying something as she's doing it, but that feels like it's going to be a running thing throughout and a running relevant sort of mechanic. But we have this banging on the walls. It's pretty typical, but it's pretty effective for what it is. The one that floundered a little bit, at least until it ended, because I thought the ending of it was good, is the scare at the end when she's finished, tinkering with her sister. That sounds weird. You know what I mean? She's doing up her sister, and obviously that's intercut with flashbacks. We'll talk about those flashbacks in a bit. But as she's leaving, she looks across the other table in the morgue, and her mother's body's there. I did like the touch that when her mother's dead body sits up, that only her head was like normal looking. The idea that when she was recreated for the funeral, they only do the head and the hands because that's the only parts you see. They don't do the whole body. So it looks like proper skin down to about the neck, and then underneath that it's like all blue and decayed and disgusting and whatever. I like that small touch. The actual scene itself, I'm not super into the creepy ghost. How do I put this? Like, it's like this scene is such a typical ghost scene, I guess, is what I'm saying, and I'm not super into the long drawn out setup and the stare of it, but especially when the character is kind of staring at it in a way where she's not really sure it's real or not. Like, I don't know, it doesn't quite work for me in the same way that less in your face scenes would with a ghost. This would be different if it was an actual person. Like, you give me a scene of Michael Myers sitting up in the background, I'm jumping for joy and excitement because I think that's creepy as shit. What I did think was effective, again, this is kind of following on from the first episode, is the actual final little jump scare moment of it, where she has the box where the dead kitten was in, and she opens it. In fact, actually, I should also mention the horrible scene of you think the little kitten's alive, but it's actually just a spider or whatever inside the mouth that's coming out. And then that happens again with her sister. But again, it's like, did that really happen? Did she not see it? There's some and it probably is happening. I'm assuming since it's a supernatural show that all this shit is happening, but the characters are just kind of doubting it themselves for now. But yeah, I thought the final moment she opened the box and it screamed, I thought, okay, right, that was effective, the way it kind of built up to that. So in terms of the suspense of building up to the moment where it makes the noise, that was effective. The actual setting up and whatnot, I don't know, just a generic ghost story kind of cliche for me, I guess. I don't know. I tend to be a little bit fussier with supernatural ghost story movies because there's I feel like a lot of supernatural movies will play these tricks that are supposed to impress me or are supposed to be effective, and I often find they're not because I'm instantly just kind of, there's like a barrier because it's something that is just completely made up, and it's not like Um, the idea that there's no rules, the idea that we can have the ghost do anything at any time, so therefore you can't just rely on the actual actions of the ghost to be scary. You have to, it's the how you present it that's scary. And I think the actual her sitting up wasn't that effective on its own. It wasn't until the final moment where it really where the benefit of how it was being played out kind of hit. So I'm not being too harsh on it, but at the same time I'm just saying it wasn't that effective until the final moment for me. But yeah, so we had other flashbacks. We had a lot of neat little things. Because at one point earlier on, like when they're arguing about like Stephen and Luke and the dad coming for the funeral, Theo just happens to mention that Luke missed Nellie's wedding, and I was like, wait, Nellie was married? Oh, we didn't know that. Okay, that's new information. And I was wondering if I'd misheard her, and then later on we see like, no, here's like the photo album, here's her with her husband, who we've not seen before, I don't think. And then later on we get the flashback of her wedding day where Shirley's sitting with her, getting her ready for, and she's applying the makeup just like she is with the dead body. So there's some neat thematic and visual connections between those scenes, which are nice. But we find out that she was the one who actually stopped Luke from coming. Luke did arrive at the wedding, and Shirley noticed, and she ran outside and said, "You're high, don't ruin this day," and she paid him to leave, basically. She gave him a cab fare and some extra, go away, you're going to ruin this for her. And she's protective of her little sister. So it shows you their bond, but there's also this a little bit of guilt in there because that was her that did that. When Theo brought it up earlier, I think there was a bit of a reaction there. Some other little tidbits. Her husband's got a personal bank account, which she's unaware of. Like, they have joint accounts for everything, so she doesn't understand what this solo account's for. She's concerned. They also mention that they're not in trouble financially, but they're very close to the line because she keeps giving people discounts because she feels bad for them, and her husband's trying to convince her that, hey, no, you more than half of our cases in the last year you gave a special discount to, therefore it's not that special anymore. So she's very sympathetic, she's very compassionate towards the people who come in. She tries to help this young boy who's scared of her grandmother. And I thought it was a little bit weird when she said, hey, I'll take you up to the dead grandmother. But then we get the flashback of the funeral director at her mother's funeral did the same for her, which I still think is a little bit weird. I get why she's doing it because it happened to her. The guy that did it with her at her mother's funeral, I thought was a bit creepy. This guy came up and said, hey, I'll take you up there. It felt just a little bit, I don't know, predatory, I feel like. Even the way the dad was sort of looking up after she walked off with him, being like, feeling all sort of like, oh shit, I guess I'm a crap father. This guy came along and just did it in one fell swoop. I don't know. Maybe I'm reading too much into it, but the guy seemed really creepy to me. But yeah, so we had this sort of first experience of death, but when she sees the dead body, she looks up and says, wait, you fixed her? You did that? She's like, yeah, that's what I do. So this is what I mean when I say it's maybe just a little bit on the nose with how she ended up with this profession. It's very kind of, there's this moment where she's looking down at her dead mother's body, but she's like, you fixed her. You can do this. This is my life's calling. This is my life's purpose. So a little bit cheesy in that scene, I thought. Not like a huge extent. Like it's not like something. I'm not detracting points that majorly for this. I'm just, just a couple of little things where the backstory was a little bit too specific and Hollywood feeling here or there, but a lot of effective moments. I'm still enjoying learning about the characters and learning about the various the backstories going on here. I thought the porch lights thing was a really nice setup. Stephen's clearly shaky. We don't see a whole lot of him post phone call. We do see that he's with his wife in some capacity. I would imagine that they're communicating because this tragedy's just happened, and that's why she's letting them be around. But I'm sure we'll see the other side of this. I'm sure we'll see like more pieces of the puzzle kind of fall into place as we go. Another big plot point I think is worth mentioning is the mother, Olivia. I just had to check her name there. Olivia, Gugino's character. She suffers from these severe migraines, and it's when she's having the speech with young Shirley about the last kitten, and we know that she's probably put it out of its misery and killed it somewhere, but she's trying to say that they gave it away, and Shirley begins to question this and says that she's lying, and she has this migraine, and we find out that she's experienced these in the past, and this is a recurring thing. But we have this debate between her and the husband about how they've handled this situation, and how they've, letting her take care of these kittens that were clearly sick, and then how they've handled the deaths, and worried that she's got this really bizarre outlook on death. And I suppose to an extent they're right, because most people don't grow up to be, what's the exact term for her profession? So the person who specifically restores the body. Is it just the funeral director? I don't think it is. I feel there's a specific word for this, a specific profession that's about restoring the bodies. But whatever. So also a couple of brief moments. Young Luke sees another child off in the distance in the flashback and waves at it, and that's about it. But I'm sure that's setting up stuff for later. We also see a bit more of Shirley's kids in this one. Her son really wants to be Daredevil for Halloween and is pissed that his mother bought him just a plain white mask for him to decorate. He's not amused. And we see that the daughter is kind of close with our Aunt Theo. She's got gloves on to match, because I don't think we ever mentioned this in the last review, but Theo is a bit of a germaphobe. At least that's what she said, and she wears gloves a lot of the time because of that. So the young girl wants to kind of match her sister, or big aunt rather, and they're kind of throwing Brussels sprouts over their shoulders at dinner table, which I don't fault them for, because they're disgusting. Meanwhile, the son's been chewed out for not finishing all his food. Poor little bastard. So no, there's just a lot of things that, again, we mentioned the Dudleys don't know how to get into the Red Door. So again, there's a few little plot threads that seem to be kind of just lingering throughout that we're going to be dealing with. But yeah, this was mainly Shirley's episode. It was about her backstory. It was about her outlook on death, her first experience with death, and how she's dealing with it now, and then her relationship with Nellie, her backstory with Nellie, and how she seemed to be closer to her than any of the other siblings. And also Nellie's wedding seems to take place between the flashback last episode where she grilled Stephen about writing the book, because we get a scene, of course, when they're going to sign Luke into rehab, and they're shocked to find out that it costs $6,000 per month. And they were going to split it, but he can't afford remotely close to that. So she pays for the first month on her own at this ridiculous amount. And she, they have this conversation about how he's a struggling writer. So that's before the flashback last episode, where she was pissed at him for writing the book about Hill House, because that's what made him famous. And then this episode, the wedding seems to take place after that, because she makes a dig about it. She says, "Oh, we're lucky to have a famous writer here with us." And Nellie says, "Hey, you weren't going to bring that up." So, we're getting a timeline here of these events. So I imagine in Nellie's episode, when we get to it, we're probably going to, find out about her husband, maybe find out what led her to the house that night. So there's a lot of pieces moving, a lot of things going on. And then on top of that, just getting more about Stephen and his timeline here, and we're getting bits and pieces there, and even Luke as well, and Luke's side of things. What drove him to drugs? Because I assume in this show it's going to be something a bit more weird and specific, and he saw something so goddamn creepy that he just had to start taking heroin. But I imagine that's kind of roughly where we're going to go with it, and because obviously last episode he said it's not what you think, and I feel like I believe him just because it is a supernatural TV show. I'm expecting there'll be more to it than he's just on another high. So no, interesting. So no, it's still into the show. And yeah, so I probably prefer the first episode more than this one, just because this one felt a bit more Hollywoody and how it handled the backstory. But the connection between the sisters worked really well. Theo being the cool aunt was working, getting a bit more of Luke, a bit more of the family connections, and I'm so on board, of course, still. So next time it'll be episode 3, and we'll dig into that. But that is us. So thank you once again for watching or listening. I always appreciate it. If you want to support the channel and the show and everything we do here, head over to patreon.com/MaleFuzzTV, and you can do that over there. And let us know what you thought of the episode in the comments, or on Twitter's at @male_fuzz. But otherwise, that is me. So thank you once again for watching. We'll see you next time. Have you got any vanilla?